this should be live, hopefully. It wasn't the first time I started it. That's what I get for setting my hotkey to record rather than stream. Anyway, if there's anyone out there, hello. I don't think there's anyone there yet, but the VOD will be up eventually, right? So I'm talking to someone. I'm sure someone's going to watch this, even if no one is watching right this moment. Anyway, I am Emperor Bugle, and welcome to the first live edition of Random Brewsday. Now, you might be wondering what Random Brewsday is. Well, it's basically a self-imposed challenge where I take a random main character, might be something great, like, say, Applejack Element of Honesty, or it might be something not so great, like Pinkie Pie Party Animal. And then once I've established my main by rolling a D51, as we have 51 Harmony legal mains right now, I roll a couple D6s. Theoretically only one, but I roll 5 just to be safe, because if I get the same color that I've already picked, let's say I'm orange and I roll a 2, then that means I am building a tricolor deck, and I need to keep rolling until I have 2 additional colors, not just one. So I roll 5 just to be safe. The chances of 5 dice not giving me 3 colors is enough colors, I should say, is very slim. Anyway, I'm going to get started in about 7:05, and I will have, 8:05, sorry. I'm looking at a Pacific clock because I am weird like that. And I'll have about an hour to make a deck and explain my thought processes to you. Normally, it took me about 10 to 15 minutes to build a deck, and then most of the rest of my time was spent on the Reddit post explaining why I picked specific cards. But yeah, I typically give myself an hour for all of this, and I think it'll actually take me more time if I'm going to be explaining my thought processes live time. So it should still take less than an hour, but we'll see, you know. Yeah, going to get started on that in about 37 seconds. In the meantime, oh, right, one thing I was going to say is I do try and make these decks as competitive as possible. Now, that isn't always doable, because sometimes you wind up with a main that is just never going to be competitive. But that being said, sometimes you wind up with something that was more competitive than you were expecting. Do I expect any of these decks to take Gen Con this year? Probably not. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Let's roll that D51. Let's roll a D51. My bad. 39. Okay. Oops. Deck builder. Go on, Funnyhead. No, right. Just the mains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Skip. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I forgot what the number is. It's 23 out of 39. Okay, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Skip. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Octavia! Okay, Octavia. Now what color? 3, that is pink. Octavia pink, really? Okay! Well, I've certainly never built an Octavia pink deck before. Not once in my life. Okay, so I have a vague idea of how I'm going to build this. I don't think this is actually going to be too much different from my what is it called? Equestrian Oddesseys build. it might be a little bit different. We do have a few handy new tricks, like, where is she? Yeah, there we go, Pinkie Pie growing up. We're definitely going to want a few of these. So with Octavia, I like to build with the starting problems, the 1-1 starting problems. I like being able to flip her ASAP. To help with that, we're going to be running some damsels. Not damsel. We don't want damsel anymore. We're in marks and time. We want cracking the cases. Just better all around. Do I want 3? Actually, cracking the cases. Well, no, we'll keep it at 2. We'll keep it at 2. But I want the cracking the cases to keep it so that Octavia can get through troublemakers and flip. Alternatively, the other way to do that is I just need to take this color filter off if I'm just going to search by names. Snips and Snails. So that's why I only want the 2 cracking the cases, is because Snips and Snails is going to get rid of most troublemakers as well. But yeah, Snips and Snails, fantastic in Octavia decks for a large number of reasons, which we'll see shortly. Now, I'm at the point here, do I want to build this the exact same way I tend to build Octavia Pink, or do I want to build something different? Honestly, I think I'm just going to build the normal deck. I think it's just so good. It's not 100% the best deck ever, but it's really, really good, and it was better before the rules change, admittedly, but it's still pretty solid. And what was the last problem we wanted to run? I honestly don't remember. I think it's 1 Fashion Feast. I don't actually remember. Basically, the problem deck here is a bunch of 4/3s. I think it's not Fashion Feast. Fashion Feast is just not a good card. And what was that other problem? Oh, right. It was Forced Gem Hunt. That's right. 1 Forced Gem Hunt. Or is Beguiling Bauble the better one? Yeah, I think Beguiling Bauble's the better one. So the rationale behind these problems is we're going to be using RTOs to try and score huge off of these 3-point problems, 2-point problems. How I like to play Octavia is very, very bursty. She has the advantage of making all of her friends have a lot of extra power. And she loves cards named Rarity. She loves RTO, just because it's RTO. Well, what do you want from me? Rarity Breezy, 0 cost, 2 power, can score you some points. Then, of course, there is Rarity Soprano. Hasty lets you see the opponent's hand and get around any tricks they might have. Just all-around fantastic card. And with Octavia, she can sometimes be a face-off trick. 2 cost, 4 power. What other cards do we run in this? Well, we need more entry. So the entry I like to run with Flitter has an I in her name. Yep, there we go. 3 Flitters and 2 High Spirits. We probably could get away with just the 8. A couple of Party of 1s to deal with any pesky control setups we just can't deal with. A couple Food Fights is not going to be too bad. A couple of Yoinks. Some Dressed Ups. I'm gonna add 3 for now. We'll see if we want to keep 3 or 2 by the end of this. I like running Cadence because you can play her off of any one of your pink friends and your main. Like, now, this deck used to run bulk biceps for that exact same reason, but we don't have bulk anymore. And Cadence is actually really good with this deck because you've got the Rarity Breezies that are going to hit your discard, and you've got the Snips and Scales that are going to hit your discard. And even if you just retire something, you can get a lot of things into your discard, proc Cadence, and get some free card advantage, which you're not going to get using Octavia as opposed to Vinyl, right? So what else? Well, let's see. Where are we right now? We've got plenty of friends. It's probably actually not quite enough friends. Oh, I know who we're missing. We are missing Glimmer. Like having her get Octavia up to the problem ASAP. We need a couple of flowers. I think 2 is fine. We also flowers are very important in this deck because of, actually we need the full 3 because of Study Session. Study Session is so strong against Octavia that if the opponent plays them, you've basically just lost, unless you can get rid of them. And the longer it takes for you to get rid of them, the worse off you are. Anyway, we also want Aloe. It's hard to beat 5 power for 1 cost. It is really, really hard to beat that. The Flower Ponies are worth considering. I'm not sure whether or not we'll keep them or not. Changeling, or not Changeling, what is her name? Identity Theft is worth considering. I'm pretty sure I took her out of my final builds originally, but she's still a good card. Oh, what is that card called? Photo Op. Yeah, a couple of Photo Ops are really good. You're going to be starting a lot of face-offs, so you want to stop them from moving every once in a while. Photo Op is really nice. Stops their Bluna from moving, stops their RTOs from scoring points, stops their Scoots activations. It's very, very strong. I wouldn't want to run more than 2 of them, though, because it's more of a counter card. And the other, can't believe I forgot her. Harsh Judge works fantastically with your Sopranos. We're a bit over here, our budget right now, but that's okay. We can, I like adding everything I want and then cutting things. I find it works better to do it that way because it lets you see what your options are, So, okay. Oh, yeah, let's see. Yeah, I like using the archive. Like, Ponyhead is a great tool for building decks, but it's not a very good tool for searching for cards, and that's what I tend to use the archive for. But since I'm actually going to be just looking at Mark's cards, see if there's anything I am forgetting in pink and, not orange, pink and white, that this deck might actually want. Like, Party Philly is actually a really interesting choice here. Because unlike your other friends, she or not your other removal, she's also a friend, so you can still play her to activate Octavia. So I'm going to add a couple, see how I feel about that. Cheese is not, no. Cadence is actually, if it wasn't for the fact that we had Soprano, I would consider running Cadence, but I don't think it's worth it here. We're definitely going to want Secret to Every Pony in this deck, though. Oh, no, we're not, because of the whole, I completely forgot about our problem strategy. A Secret to Every Pony is a card I normally include in my pink decks nowadays, just because it's basically free AT, but not with our current strategy of maximizing our problem deck. 6 out of the 9 possible problems after our starting problem are 3 bonus, which is what we want for our RTOs and our DFOs, because basically, if you can DFO with this deck, you're going to want to. I'm going to add a couple of Jests. I don't expect to keep them around, but no, actually, Jests might actually be good enough in this deck. I don't think so, since we have the 2 cracks and the 3 Simpson snails, but you know, that 7 is actually not that hard to confront for Octavia. So yeah, I'm going to add them, and I'm going to seriously consider them. Don't think there's any other pink friends worth, or pink cards worth adding. Fernando is unfortunately just not quite worth it in this deck. Like, I just think Food Fight and Yoink are better. White. How about white cards? Anything obvious here that I'm missing? I mean, there's blackmail, but not quite for this deck. Platinum's too expensive. Oh, Method Mares. That's actually not... That's an interesting card here. Hold on just a moment. Jeff, door! Hi, Solar Glacier. No, it is pink-white aggro, actually. This is... I'm actually basically recreating a deck that I already created in Equestrian Oddesseys since I landed on Octavia to pink. He's coming. Sorry. Yeah, give me just a moment. I'll be right back. Jeff? Sorry, yeah, give me just a moment. I'm trying to find him. I don't know where he is. What's that? Oh, it's his order. Yeah. Okay, but he did pay already. Oh, did he? Oh, okay. Is that he paid? Did he come up? Okay. If he paid, then he paid. But I need to make sure he's decided. Oh, okay. Sure. Give me a moment. Jeff! Hey, so... I'm sorry about that. My roommate ordered some food and the door was being knocked on. Anyway, yeah, like I said, this is a deck I basically made in Equestrian Oddesseys, but we're going to update it for Marks in Time, since that is what the dice said. Now, I could have tried to go in a different direction, but I'm curious to see where this will wind up in the post-Marks era. Anyway, white cards. Oh, right, Method Mare. Yeah. So what I was saying about Method Mare is the reason this might actually be worthwhile is because you're going to have the wreck, and she is basically removal, or they are removal for any friend in play, and until that friend gets frightened or dismissed or whatever, it's yours. And again, like I said with Party Philly, she's a friend, so she'll actually activate your Octavia. So what you could do if you have 4 AT, that's the issue, the fact that she's 4 AT, same with Party Philly. If I do go with one, I think I'm going to go with Method Mares over Party Philly. But the thing is 4 AT is a lot in this deck. But the cool thing you can do is you can buff their friend and then take it to confront that turn. But again, really expensive. Hoops might honestly just be the better choice, and I never even considered hoops in this deck. Let me look at hoops. Oops. Why is hoops not showing up? Oh, because Marks in Time. I'm silly. Yeah, hoops. So yeah, hoops, again. But the problem with hoops is that you only borrow until the end of the turn, and I don't think that's quite enough. I think if we're going to go with the friend-based removal, we want it to be harder removal. Even if they get the friend back eventually with Method Mares, they're not getting it back at the end of turn like with hoops. So let's see, where are we at now? We are way over, 13 cards over. Okay. So, I need to figure out whether or not we want Method Mares and or Party Philly over the removal down here. Like, the nice thing about Food Fight is it's immediate, so you can, you know, just hold on to that 2 AT and get rid of anything. Well, anything within the range of it. And the nice thing about Yoink is combos very well with Octavia. It lets you remove anything. So long as you're starting a face-off that turn, then you have the Octavia activation to spare on putting on their friend. Yoink, just that friend's gone. So, bum 58 cards. I think I'm gonna take out the flower ponies. They're just a little too risky. I shouldn't say risky, but you know, sometimes they just don't work out for you. And I've found that Octavia works best with consistency. Do we need the Starlight Glimmers? I like the Starlight Glimmers. We'll consider them. I don't think this deck actually needs the Chrysalises. Although Chrysalis works really well with Rarity. You play Rarity to one of these problems, and you play Chrysalis, and now you're confronting any of these problems. Even this one, though, obviously. And that is so nice, plus you can... It won't work with Harsh Judge, but you could use it as a Rarity Breezy to score a point. Use it with Aloe, get a little bit extra power. Snips and Snails becomes an emergency problem replacement. You know, you'd really only ever do that if you either A, really needed the pink wreck, but also needed to replace a problem, or B, if your Snips and Snails was frightened, so it actually cost more to rally and then move, like frightened at home, something like that. We're actually running a lot of non-friends here. Like, we are running enough non-friends that I think I'm going to go with the Method Mare strategy here. I mean, it is expensive. Like, don't get me wrong, it is expensive, but I think I like it enough to keep it in. So, what else can I hit? I like keeping the Yoinks. Yeah, we're going to keep the Yoinks. I might actually increase it to 3. Now, let's increase it to 3. If I need to take out another one, I can. And I think we're going to go down to 2 dressed ups and get rid of Party Philly. But I do think I want to keep the Method Mares. Because like I said, sometimes you just want a friend, sometimes you want removal. It's a bit expensive, but you've got both options available to you with them rather. Definitely going to keep the 2 Party of Ones. I really want to keep the Just Clowning Arounds, if at all possible. Like, it's a little heavy on the Troublemaker removal here with all of these, but they're all really good and they're useful in different scenarios. What are we, 5 cards over right now? That's not too bad. How many non-friends do we have right now? 3, 6, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. Ugh, that's too many. Yeah, okay, I'm going to take out the Glimmers. While I do like Glimmer in this deck, I just feel we have too many non-friends to support her. And really, if you're not playing her turn 1, it's probably too late. 2 more cards. We might just be removing, putting 2 things down to 2 at this point. Like, I'm tempted. Like, I originally had Seabreeze's Flower down at 2, as you all saw, but dressed up is purely removal. Yes, absolutely. Though, fun fact, when I was playing the original version of this deck, I did put a dressed up on my Rarity Breezy because that was the only way I could DFO that turn. And it was absolutely the right call. It was hilarious, but it was absolutely the right call. Let's see. We've got 8 entry. We've got Simpson snails. So, yeah, we've got plenty of pink friends, so I'm not worried about that, and I don't feel we need to cut any either. I don't want to cut Octavias because you need them for your bailouts and your food fights and your nap cakes. Basically, all of the immediates nowadays. That's why you really need a full set of both Octavia and Rarity if you're going to be playing Octavia pink aggro. Your game plan is very fragile. It is very easy to disrupt you, and so that's why you need these to just ensure that they can't disrupt you easily. I mean, they'll still be able to disrupt you, but not easily, and you definitely want to make them work for it. So do we go down to 2 flowers here? Like I said, study session is really, really bad, but no other problem is that, or not problem, no other resource is that problematic. You know, there's your dressed ups and your not out of action, clipped wings, you know, which will turn off your RTOs or your Octavias, and you can get rid of them with Sea Breeze's flower. That's not too important, because you usually have other options. Study session is just the big one. Just on bum. If I knew I was in a study session meta, I would absolutely run all 3, so we'll keep all 3 for right now. Then again, study session isn't seeing a lot of play right now, so we'll put it at 2, and if anyone does decide to run this, just take out something else to have that 3rd Sea Breeze's flower. I would take out the Simpson snails because we do, maybe we only run 1 just clowning around. 1, 2, 3. So what's our removal? We've got the 2 method mares, the 3 yoinks, and 2 dressed ups. Yeah, 7's about where I want to be. Especially since it's all more or less permanent, as opposed to, like, frightening, which is just undoable by 2. I mean, sure, they can get rid of the dressed ups, or, again, like I said, frighten the thing you take with method mare. But typically, it's a lot harder than Rutherford and so on. Oh, jeez. I wonder if we can afford to run only 1 aloe. Aloe is so good in this deck. It would be really, really tough to cut aloe. Dump. Well, let's see. What cards can we afford to cut? We can't cut our entry. We definitely don't want to cut anything with Rarity in the name or Octavia. In some decks, I would consider running 2 Simpson snails, but considering it is our only 3 pink requirement card, and well, that's not true. We do have the Pinkie Pie growing ups. They are 3 pink. I mean, this is cheaper, but still 3 pink. And you're going to want to cutie mark these. That 2 eccentric is super good. Because we're running the 2 just clowning arounds and the 2 cracking the cases, cutting 1 Simpson snails might actually be the answer. Though, like I said, Simpson snails is more cost effective than Pinkie, and if you only have 2, you won't be able to find them as easily off of cadence. That being said, all of that, I think it's the correct card right now. Okay, so that's that. 25 minutes. So let's see. So okay, so yeah, we've got about 35 minutes. So I more or less explained most of these cards, but let's go over this again really quick, real briefly. So, okay, my entry choice. The reason I picked these 3 entry is you want to be able to hit this turn 2 for as little cost as possible. You want to save your AT for when you've got the bigger problems floating around. So, blam, blam, blam. These are your 1 cost pink friends, and they're the best you're going to get. I'm pretty sure there aren't any other... Whoops. not random card. Hi, Lady Justice. Haven't seen you in a long time. Let's see, advanced search, just to make sure I'm not missing something. Now, there is the Flitter that you can banish from your hand, who is not a bad card, and I have run it here before, but I think just the 1 costs are going to be better. What am I looking for? Color, pink, requirement equals 0, and power equals 1, and cost also equals 1. Advanced search. Yep, that's all 3 of them. I thought so. So, Pinky, we want to run 3 of Flitter and Pinky because, well, Pinky has this nice eccentric 2 and the ability to get to 3 power on her own, and Flitter can help you beat Troublemakers, which is slightly better than High Spirits. Of course, it's Flitter. Of course, you're going to run 3 Flitters. Yeah, I don't like playing the Flitter Solar Glacier, but sometimes you just want to banish her from your hand and you don't, you're saving AT. Like when I was running her, it was you banish and then you play a Cadence or a Rarity turn 2 instead of a Flitter or a 1 power friend. But I think Pinkie Pie is just better, and I think the 1 cost friends are better as well. You're not at this point you're saving 1 AT as opposed to 2 AT when I was running Lily instead, and I think it's just worth it. I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway, so that's the entry. The Sips and Snails, like I talked about, the 3 power is really good. Like Sips and Snails plus RTO confronts any one of these, thanks to Octavia's power. And that's really, really notable. Honestly, no, you can still play the pink, yeah. So yeah, because we've got 5, I think 5 is fine. Because you do want to hit that number, really. These 2 just don't work quite as well for it. You can finagle it, thanks to stuff like Rarity Breezy, but oh well. So, Sips and Snails has got that going for it. It's only 2 cost, and of course, gets rid of most Troublemakers. It doesn't get rid of Trixie. It doesn't get rid of Nightmare Star. In fact, Nightmare Star means you're not getting rid of anything with this, but oh well. It's one of only 2 friends in the deck that exhausts too, so you don't care too much about Nightmare Star aside from the fact she's blocking a problem. So, very solid card. I include him in basically any pink deck. Usually as a 3 of, but I think here 2 of is just fine. RTO, our entire deck is built around her. We need those bonus points. RTO, yeah. Rarity Breezy, like I said, 0 cost, 2 power in this deck. And when you're playing her, you're playing her to score a free point. And with Cadence, you're basically doesn't even cost you a card. Incredible value, especially in an Octavia deck. Aloe, 0 cost 2 power is good. 1 cost 5 power is almost better. Aloe can let you confront basically anything for incredibly cheap. Aloe plus High Spirits plus Octavia, for example, is enough to confront any of these problems. And yeah, that's good enough. Octavia and Rarity, like I said, you need the hand disruption. Pink-White has, strangely enough, Pink-White has better hand disruption combined than Mono-Orange does. Because you've got the Soprano and the Harsh Judge. You Soprano first to see what they've got, take rid of something, then you play the Harsh Judge, and now they've got nothing. All of their major threats should be neutralized at this point. And anything that's not, well, you can play around it thanks to seeing their hand. I cannot envision playing Pink-White without Soprano. And honestly, if you're playing Soprano, you should almost certainly be playing Harsh Judge as well. Method Mares, I'm not sold on this, but I do think 4AT to steal any friend is pretty solid. And again, you're getting that 2 power off of Octavia the turn you're playing her anyway. And you might even be putting that on the friend you were stealing. So very versatile, and if there's a place for her, I think it's this deck. So I'm curious to see how this works out. Plus, when you use one, if you have a Cadence out, you can find the other one. Even more value. And speaking of Cadence, not only is she easy to play with any of your pink friends and your main, even unflipped, like I said, she will get you card advantage if you're, however something hits the discard. If they Nightmare Moon you and you have friends in your hand and you really want one of them, go get it with Cadence. Doesn't matter how the friend enters the discard pile. They could play Applejack Applebucker and put one of your RTOs in the discard, and you can still find it that way. Already talked about Soprano. Yoink. Very solid removal. Works fantastic with Octavia. 0 cost. And you're going to be starting a lot of face-offs. And if you're not, chances are they're going to be starting face-offs. So you can still remove things. Photo Op. Very solid chaos. You know, if you think you're going to lose the face-off, you can deny them a point or two. Because you've got 3 bonus problems. Chances are they don't. And so you can turn that off so they get nothing if you get that chaos. Very nice. And the ability to make them not move is also very, very good. Savoir-faire in this deck. Oh, the 2/2. The 2/2/2. Yeah. Savoir-faire is good, but he's not as good as Aloe, and I don't think you want 6 cards devoted to that slot. If you I mean, this is the same reason I wasn't running, what is their name? The Flower Ponies. Like, the Flower Ponies plus any of these pink friends, right, lets you confront these problems, which is very, very valuable. But I still cut them because they just fill such a similar role as Aloe, and they're just less reliable. And Savoir-faire is more expensive, and you're only getting 1 more power out of it. You know, let's double the power for only a 20% increase in power. Could see it as a replacement for Method Mares, but again, I think the deck needs the removal, so if I was going to take out the Method Mares, I think I would put in the Food Fights. Just because Food Fight is very strong right now against almost anything in the meta. Everything in the meta that I'm aware of has friends that are 3 power or can get to 3 power very easily. So I do like Food Fight in the deck. It's just I want to see a place where Method Mares works. And if Method Mares is going to work, it's going to be in Octavia. What was I going to say? Oh, right. We were talking about Photo Op still. Yeah, the ability to stop them from moving, you know, against some aggro decks, that's basically stopping their entire turn. And that's very powerful. Especially if you're going to DFO and you know they're going to win if they can DFO back. Bam! 1 AT, stop them from winning. Crack in the case, I think undisputedly the best troublemaker removal in the game right now. Undisputedly. Only running 2 because we've also got the Just Clowning Arounds and the Sips and Snails. But I can't see a reality where we don't run at least 2. Party of 1. I don't think I talked about Party of 1 too in depth, but the reason you run Party of 1 in what is otherwise an aggro deck is because a lot of control decks like to hunker down and get set up. They play 3 Paper Twilights and a Zipper Whale and an F-Stop, and they're just got such a good board position that you're never going to get through it unless you get rid of their entire board at once. And that's what Party of 1 does. The Rexes are a little bit awkward since you do need 3 pink, and you only have the 2 or the 5 ways of getting that without overextending. But well, I guess you could always dress up something as well. But that's not usually where you want to be. But yeah, it's incredibly powerful. 4 costs. You're not going to play this every game. You're almost certainly never going to play this against aggro. This is your counter control card, which I know is funny because it is in itself a control card. Just conning around, we're running this for similar reasons as Sips and Snails. It lets you get rid of troublemakers. But unlike Sips and Snails, it also gives you a problem. And you can confront this very easily. Play for 4 AT, you play Just Clowning Around, then you play Soprano, for example. You've got 2 power there, then you play Aloe there. That's another 5 you've confronted. A 7 wild power problem for 4 AT. That's pretty good, and there are a lot of reasons you might want to replace a problem. Like, for example, they've got all their friends had a problem, or there's a troublemaker there, or whatever. Maybe they have a problematic problem. It's a solid card, and I could see it working really well in this deck. Dressed up, we want a little bit more removal. This is also removal you can play on an unflipped main. Rarely you want to do that, but sometimes you do. And sometimes you just need that 1 extra power. I have definitely played this for 1 extra power before. Yes, best control card is best counter control. Party of 1, there's a reason this thing costs 4. Let's just put it that way. It is a very, very good card. And 2 Sea Breezes Flowers. If, I cannot stress this enough, if you are in a meta where there are study sessions, you need to run 3 because study session will ruin you. You will lose the study session. Octavia's least favorite card in the game. Bar none, least favorite card. Other than that, there are enough resources that you would want to get rid of that I wouldn't want to go below 2. That being said, Harry Huberty's Luna Pink deck ran exactly 1 trashed, and he got top 4. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe it is correct to be only running 1 resource removal. But I'm a cautious person. I think 2 is correct. So that's about everything. So how do you play this deck? I've got 22 minutes. So yeah, turn 2, you want to flip your main. If you can't, you're already behind. That is typically how it goes with the confront to flip mains. But, you can still flip her turn 2 in most circumstances. In really, really, well, I guess you can't do that turn 2. If you do have a crack in the case, you can almost certainly do it turn 3. The only reason you wouldn't be able to turn 2 is, well, I say the only reason, but no, eccentric is a thing too. But, try and confront as soon as possible. If there are troublemakers in the way, try and crack them with, your cadence or your soprano or whatever, or get through with Sips and Snails. Go for the other problem. You've got the Jess clowning around. You've got options to flip your main, but 90% of the time you should be flipping here. Unless you absolutely can't flip here. Turn 2, play High Spirits, move your main, confront, flip, bam, now you're going. From there, you want to sit on that problem until you can DFO, and then you want to hold on to AT until you can either confront with an RTO or DFO. Again, DFO, your power is very, very large, but also very, very fleeting, and you don't want to be confronting problems unless you're going to be starting face-offs. Let's put it that way. Now, because you're a little bit slower than your average aggro deck, you do need a lot of this disruption, like play Harsh Judge naming Nightglider or Rutherford or whatever. Soprano to get rid of the best card in their hand, etc., etc. And you don't have much AT efficiency outside of your main's power, so you do need to be very careful with your AT. And if you're winning, constantly push those DFOs. If you're losing, try and slow them down with your stalling tactics. Just clowning around can sometimes work for that too, especially since chances are your opponent doesn't want you to constantly confronting a dilemma, so they're going to do what they can to make this go away, which will also just slow them down. And yeah, I think that's more or less how to play this. Yes, yes, standstill. If you're afraid of them playing standstill, move Octavia turn 1. Just move her turn 1, unless there's a troublemaker there already. If there's any risk of standstill, move her turn 1. I don't know. That's about it. I've still got 19 minutes, 18 minutes. Don't really have much else to say, though. How about you, Solar? You got anything, any questions for me? Since you're basically the only one in chat. Oh, Lunatic's here, too. Hi, Lunatic. Do you have any questions? Oh, it's not Lunatic. It's I don't know how to pronounce that, actually. I'm just going to pretend that's a typo, and it is, in fact, Lunatic. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Actually, well, since I do have some time while I'm waiting for questions, if we do have any, what else is worth looking at? How about, you know what? Let's just look at some high magic cards real quick. I'm pretty sure I've considered all the high magic cards that I need to consider. High magic, there we go. No. Pink. Oh, no, I should have talked about these. These are very strong, but again, I just don't think there's room for them when we already have Octavia. There's this. This can get you a lot of power, but you already had to have confronted the problem for it. There's Party Favor. If we had a way to immediately have him leave play, I think I would absolutely run him. If, for example, we had a card, immediate retire a friend, dismiss a friend, I would run Party Favor in this deck if we had that combo. Because that would let you DFO so much easier. Because you buff him up to like 4 power, and then you put 4 friends into play on the other side, and you confront that. And that would be amazing. But there's just no good way of doing that right now. I guess there's Simpson Snails joined at the horn, but that's 5 AT. It's just not worth the combo. Chishu's solid, but more for a control build, honestly. Fluffy Clouds, not amazing, but it does have Vexing. I already talked about Flitter. Like I said, before Marks in Time, I think there was an argument of running either her or Lily. I preferred running her. Some people preferred running Lily. I think neither is inherently wrong. There's advantages to both. How does this deck do with draw? Honestly, it's not too bad. Basically, your only real card advantage is going to come through cadence. Though, situationally, if you're not afraid of their hand, you can soprano yourself. This is something a lot of people don't think about. But, you know, if you've got a dead cracking the case in your hand and your opponent has no hand and you really need to get soprano on the board for whatever reason, play her, discard that cracking the case, draw another card. Not too bad. Though, speaking of a card I did consider for the longest time, what is that card called? Make this castle a home is not a bad source of card draw either. While it's true you're only, you're not really getting value since you're spending 1 AT and 1 card for 2 cards. It does have other, it can also double as removal. And before High Magic, I was running some of these, but I just think there are better options now. You could, if necessary, run, let's get this party started. Turn 1 Nightmare Moon, are you dead? Probably. Especially if they play it to your problem and you're on the draw, then you're in serious trouble. But honestly, turn 1 Nightmare Moon hurts aggro decks so hard regardless. Now the good news is that it does slow the person who plays it down a little bit, even if they are playing vinyl. But yeah, turn 1 Nightmare Moon, not your friend. Never going to be your friend. There's no circumstance where you're playing aggro where that's good for you. Unless you're playing vinyl, that hurts so bad. Ah, jeez. Ugh. Yeah, that may have happened to me once or twice. Granted, I've done it to people a lot more than it's ever happened to me. Not with this deck, obviously. But yeah. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about the problems real quick. I've got the time. So, your starting problem, you're always going to start with it. It's the only one you got. Bonus of 1, 1, 1. You're using it just to flip your main. Who is Gabby Gums? Most of the time, this has no text. I don't think it ever has text that you care about. Very rarely will there ever be 3 white characters at this problem unless the opponent has white characters at this problem. And very rarely do you care enough to where they can't move characters away from this. I think it mattered once. My opponent was playing Bluna, and I had 3 white characters here. No, I had 2, and they had 1. And they wanted to DFO, but they couldn't because they couldn't move Bluna because there were 3 white characters there. Most of the time, this problem has no text. Pony Napped. Frightening sucks, but a lot of the time you're going to be frightening something that you didn't care too much about. And just remember to always send your RTO home first. If you are running the build with Queen Chrysalis and you go RTO Queen Chrysalis, send them both home. Then there's nothing there to frighten, so you don't even have to frighten anything. It's amazing. Stitch in Time. You may reattach. Its owner may reattach a resource from one of their friends to another one of their friends. This is only ever going to matter if they play a Dressed Up or a Clipped Wings or something along those lines on one of your friends. You can move that onto a friend that you care less about. Very, very rarely is this ever going to matter. Though you could move a Dressed Up. Forced Gem Hunt. The reason we're running this is because it's got the same Rex as the rest. You know what Rex are going to flip. 4, 3, 8. The only thing you don't know is if it's 3 bonus or 2 bonus. Preferably, you want it to be 3 bonus. Sometimes it's going to be 2. 1/3 of the times, it's going to be 2. It sucks. Oh well. Player with the most unicorns here would draw a card. They may put a resource from their hand, from their discard instead. Yeah, that's almost never going to matter. Plus, you don't have very many unicorns. We have, what, 3, 6? Not a lot. No, 9, yeah. Maybe you'll have the most unicorns. It might actually be slightly better than Beguiling Bauble. Yeah. While involved in a problem face-off, opposing boosted main characters here. Yeah, that is so niche. They're both super niche. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you which one you want to run 2 of. Though, pro tip, Forced Gem Hunt is the exact same art as on the promo RTO that you got at Gen Con 2 years ago. Just zoomed in only on rarity. Yeah, fun fact. But yeah, Beguiling Bauble, like I said, I don't think it really matters too much which one is you run 2 of, which one you run 1 of, whichever. Anyway, Solar did ask a question. Do I know what kind of matchups this would be good against? Believe it or not, this deck works very, very well against purple control decks. Not even kidding. At least back in the day, because like I said, purple control decks like to set up. And then you party of 1, and they are in an awful situation. They also tend to rely on troublemakers. You've got Crack in the Case, Snips and Snails, and Just Clowning Arounds. Your friends typically aren't at 2 power when it matters. You can Octavia their portals and their nap cakes. You can soprano them. Your you're a little weak to TSUV, and that is a case where Food Fight would be better than Method Mares, absolutely. But if they are in play, they're very yoinkable, they're very Method Maresable, and they're very, very dressed upable. Against other aggro decks, I'd say mono blue is typically going to outrace you, but you have more burst, and Luna does not like 8-point problems. Like, I mean, she likes them better than 10-point problems, don't get me wrong, but Luna is typically comfortable at the 7 range. She does not like 8. And mono blue has Night Glider, where you have rarity, RTO, and RTO can get you 3 in this deck. And, Breezies, not gonna lie, I have gone, well, okay, that was before the rules change, but before the rules change with this deck, or, a very similar version of it, I went from 4 points to 15 points in one turn. So, it can be very, very bursty. Though I liked it better when it had bulk. Losing bulk really hurts this deck, but, purple was too strong when it had bulk. Against farm, how about farm? It can go either way against farm. Against farming, though, is one of the reasons I really like Jess Clowning Around, because you can get around their troublemakers. Send that, Jess Clowning Around is one of the best cards against farm if you can reliably confront it. And with this deck, you can actually reliably confront it. Cracking the Case is similarly strong, but Jess Clowning Around has its advantages as well. I don't know, this is, like, it's not a tier 1 deck. It's like a tier 1.5 deck. It had always been a tier 1.5 deck, but it can beat just about anything in the meta that I think about. It won't always. I'd say for just about anything in the meta, it has between a 40-60 and a 60-40. There's probably some cases where it's a little worse or a little better than that, but, my gut is saying about 40-60, 60-40. Because you've got, the thing about pink-white is it has tricks for everything. Problematic friend, dismiss them, or take them, or turn them off, or banish them. Problematic troublemaker, get rid of them, make a new problem, then get rid of them. They're too speedy, photo op, slow them down. They're slow, RTO, speed yourself up. The only thing it really can't handle is resources, and that's what Sea Breeze's Flower is for. Yes, not always favorable, but doable against the field. I played it every week for a couple months at my locals, and it never did badly. It basically always went 2-1 or 3-0. Maybe not, that's probably not 100% true, but it's definitely not, it's close to that. I think that the number of games it lost was less than the number of games it won. Admittedly, not everyone was playing a tier 1 deck, so, take that with a grain of salt, but, my play group does have a lot of very strong players. Anyway, I've only got 5 minutes left. I am out of stuff to say. Hope this was enjoyable. I know I didn't drag very much of a crowd today, but I blame the fact that I completely forgot to advertise this until today. I mentioned it last week in the previous Brewsday thread, but, one mention a week in advance, and then one mention 8 hours less in advance. Not a lot of time. I think it was closer to 6 hours, yeah. So I'll try and do a better job of advertising the next one, see if we can get some more people in here. But I hope this was fun. I am intending to do more live versions of these. In fact, I'm seriously considering making the live version the default, rather than doing this during my lunches on Tuesdays. Just come home, eat, do this, prepare a little, but, do this. And Yeah, it should be fun, right? I don't know, Solar, did you have fun? I'll have to wait 15, 30 seconds for you to tell me if you had fun, but, you enjoyed it. Awesome. Cool. Would you like to see another one of these? Since you are basically the only person I can ask right now. Everyone else can tell me in the future, but you are the only one who can tell me in the present. Well, a little bit in the future, since there is the stream delay. But yeah. So, yeah, speaking to those of you who are watching this on the VOD, do let me know what you thought. Do you want to see this again? Do you think it was a waste of your time? Do you wish I had created a deck that I hadn't already created before? Dice, man. Dice. Cool. Well, I have a 100% of the people watching right now would like to see more of these. Well, at least 100% of the people communicating with me. So, yeah, let's do this again sometime, right? Yeah. I'm thinking next week. I'm thinking we can do this again next week. I will be moving next week, so I might not 100% do it next week, but I think I can spare an hour for this, right? So yeah, okay. I have just over 3 minutes left. No, sorry, just over 2 minutes left. That's it, though. We're going to call it here. So yeah, so long, Solar. So long, Lunatic, if you are in fact watching and not just lurking. And, yeah, that's it. So, oh yeah, so long to everyone watching this on the VOD. How could I have forgotten you guys? Yeah, see you all next time. Bye-bye.